think recording has started. There we go. So welcome everyone to our AWWA Committee Speed Networking Part 1. The basic premise of this is students and YPs who are interested in joining AWWA as several committee members. You get an idea of what some of these committees do and how you can get involved and what kind of time commitment and any questions that you want to ask. This is one opportunity for you to learn and ask questions about these committees. So before I go to our committee members who are here, Mary, do you want to switch over to our org chart so I should have actually introduced myself. While you do that, I will go ahead and introduce myself. So I am Pooja. I'm an AWWA YP committee member. I'm also the student outreach subcommittee chair. And I work as a project engineer in Woodard and Curran in our Canton, Massachusetts office. So that's a little bit about me. We'll go back to our event and have Mary share the org chart here in a second. Just so the students and YPs who are here, they get an idea of how all councils and committees are placed in the org chart here. So we have the most highest governing board, that is the board of directors, under which we have the executive committee sitting, under which we have these 6 councils. So we have international councils, public affair council, manufacturer associates council, water utility standards, and technical and educational council. We have some of the people representing these council here today. You can keep scrolling. Thank you. So I know this is a little complicated, but I think the one thing I will point out is this on, yes, if you see on the right, under standing committees, young professionals our committee sits over there. So that's one thing I wanted to point out, just so you know how we are on the org chart. I think there is, do we have TEs? Yeah, okay. So scroll down some, and we will send you these org charts as well. That way you get an idea. So TEC, this is our the committees and subcommittees, divisions that sit under TEC itself. So TEC is generally a very technical council, which it says obviously in the name, but the committees sitting under it are also technical. So if that's something you're inclined towards, this is one of the ways to understand which which committee would fit for you and how you can help. So with that, let's go back to our presentation, and I can show who all we have representing today. So for today, we have these folks here. So we have mostly council members, and we have MAC, that is Manufacturer Associates Council, Public Affairs, International. Okay, I'm not going to read all of this. What I'm going to do is have Mary can stop sharing her slides, and then have one by one all the council members who are here to go ahead and give an elevator bit about yourself and your council. So I want to leave room towards the end to make it more of a discussion, and that way it's more easier and accessible. So I'll start with you, TJ, since your name was first on our list.
Great. Excuse me. Great. Thanks, Pooja. Thanks for everyone attending and I appreciate being here. So my name is TJ Strobel and I'm the chair of the Manufacturers and Associates Council, also known as MAC. I work for Carita America. We're a treatment systems manufacturer and I'm located out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, where it's raining and supposed to maybe get some snow tomorrow. But in any case, so a little bit about the MAC. The MAC is a council, one of the 6 AWWA councils, and we're for service provider members. So when I say a service provider, it's really anyone who provides products or services to the water industry. So included under that are manufacturers representatives, consulting engineers, um, distributors and contractors. So it might be a little different from your section MAC if you have one. A lot of section MACs just have manufacturers, distributors on there, but we're also inclusive of the contractors and consulting engineers. So if you fall into that category, the MAC would be a good option for you if you're interested. And we provide a voice of service provider members to AWWA, provide a service provider perspective to things. So like the government affairs office or the WUC Water Utility Council might reach out to us. Like we've been kind of giving our perspective on Build America, Buy America, procurement regulation, and the impact on service providers, or some perspective on like some of the supply chain variability and things we saw over COVID and still continue to see a little bit, or like PFAS or lead service line materials, like what goes into a lead service line replacement, things like that. And then we also help engage with service provider members and engage them with the greater AWWA. So like we do put on some sessions for ACE. If you're coming to ACE this year, we're putting on a couple sessions. And we also assist with the Water Infrastructure Conference, WQTC and MTC, kind of on the planning committees for those. And we at ACE, we host the Water Industry Luncheon. We pick a speaker for that every year at that event, and we give out some awards like the John Lechner Award of Excellence, which is a award that um, promotes like or appreciates a service provider that's made a big impact. And we also give out an innovation award too. And speaking of innovation, if you've heard of the Innovation Initiative, that was actually launched from the MAC, and that's kind of responsible for the Innovation Hub at ACE that you see now. And that's now a separate subcommittee under the Technical and Educational Council. And I forgot to mention, we have 20 members total, and that includes a YP representative. Usually the chair sits on the MAC, and the service provider director at large, one of the director at large board positions, is on the MAC too. And then we have a WASDA representative from the Water and Sewer Distributors of America. And then we also have liaisons with the other councils. So that's all I was mainly going to say about the MAC. I'll be happy to answer any questions later. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, TJ. You can, so if you want to ask questions, feel free to put them in the chat, raise your hand, or just call out and say you have a question. So with that, we'll keep moving for now, and we have Rebecca Wheeler from Internationals Council.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity for me to introduce International Council to you. The IC, we call it, make it easier. And so you will be curious, hey, what does the IC International Council do, and what's my role at AWWA as well? And I'm a staff at AWWA, oversees the AWWA international programs. I work closely with the IC, the International Council. The council is not very big. We have 15 members, but we have very diverse members profile. We have members from manufacturers, just like a service provider, like TJ mentioned a little bit earlier, just a couple of minutes ago, from utilities, from international bank, from federal government as well. So it's very diverse. So you will ask me, hey, what does IC and Rebecca, you work together. So we, IC has IC's goals, which aligns closely with AWWA organization's goal to promote knowledge exchange to promote our brand internationally, because if you talk about AWWA in the North America, I believe a lot of people heard about us, but is it the same as around the world? Is not like that, but we do have a good names outside of North America and Mexico. So I see one of the goals that I see, and I are working hard on that. And also another area is to advance our diversity and inclusion, that part for the organization, which is one of the core principle of AWWA. And at the end, we want to extend and provide and support our members across the globe. And you may ask me, hey, Rebecca, how many countries AWWA has members? Surprisingly, it's really a lot. We have over 95 countries in the world have AWWA members. Of course, not everywhere we have like 100 like that. Some of the countries maybe only few, but we are glad we have AWWA's presence over 95 countries. So you asked me, hey, Rebecca, international programs, what do you guys do? Travel around the world? Not really. But we do have footprint around the world. We do have our presence in India. AWWA has the nonprofit entity registered as a nonprofit organization in India. So AWWA has a legal entity to do business in India, and the India presence has been in the country over 7 years. So every year we do similar kind of work like AWWA in the United States, like we host webinars, we have annual conference, but the scale is much smaller, I will put it that way. Other than that, AWWA, how we put our network out of the North America is through partnering. So right now, AWWA have a few target countries partnership, and also a few key partners around the globe. For example, we have very close relationship with Korea, South Korea. We have very close relationship with Japan and Singapore. And then also through our key international partner like the World Bank and USAID, AWWA are able to expand our network and services through our partners and through these countries' water leading organizations. So other than that, as you know, in North America, a lot of association also has their international offices in the other part of the world. For example, the civil engineering organization like that, Society of Women Engineers, we partner with them, so we are able to serve not just AWWA members, but through the joint effort, we are able to provide more services to AWWA members and our partners members across the globe. So nice to meet you all. And if any questions, put it in the chat box, and I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. I'll continue with the councils and then come back to the committees. So for Standards Council, we have Andrew. You want to go next?
Thanks, Pooja. Absolutely. Andrew Chastain-Howley. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. So yes, just a tiny bit of history to be quick. Andrew Chastain-Howley, I work for an engineering firm, Black & Veatch, and I'm based in Camden, Maine. So I'm probably the first to see the sun on this call in the morning, most mornings, not every morning, though, especially with the International Council. So a couple of statistics from our perspective. So we have 24 members on the council, 24 people who can vote. We have 72, maybe now 73 standards committees. So looking at standard documents, and that's almost 190 standards now. Those began, the very first one was 1908. But the Standards Council has been operating since 1920, so we just had our 100-year anniversary. And so we also look at and manage 18 manuals of practice as well. And so, you know, I was a YP when I started this game too. So I started in 99, and I joined one of the committees that's going to be presenting later on water loss. So I started there and then moved to the distribution and plant operations division, and then became a liaison just after I was a YP at that point to Standards Council. But yeah, a couple of other things. We're thought of as the boring stepchildren of everybody else on the line, but it's absolutely not true. And we've had some very interesting people who've been managing the group. So I'll just start and end here, and then pass it on. But yeah, the Fuller Award. George Warren Fuller was the very first Standards Council chair in 1920 to about 26, 27. And then Malcolm Perney, who, you know, if you've worked or know of Arcadis, that's Perney moved, you know, they were purchased by Arcadis about 10 years ago. And he was through the Second World War. So, you know, there's some very important people in our industry that were part of Standards Council. And then today we've got Sally Wright, who, if you come to the version of this on the 26th, she'll be available for conversation then. But she came through as a YP. She was the YP liaison and became the chair. So, you know, this is we're more than open for business. You know, you don't have to have, it's great to have subject matter expertise, but you don't absolutely have to have, you know, 50 years of experience to get in Standards Council. That's a misconception. Please, yeah, come on over, talk to us. We've got 1,500 volunteer subject matter experts. So welcome, everyone. I'll pass it back.
Thank you, Andrew. Reminder, if you have questions, put them in the chat, raise your hand, or just turn on the mic and you can go ahead and ask it. So we'll keep moving. We have Water Utility Council. We have a few members from Water Utility, Mike and Suzanne. So I'll let y'all pick who wants to go first, and then
Mike, you're awfully chatty in the chat box. You want to start?
Well, I could, but two, I always subscribe to Ladies Go First, and two, you've been on this utility council longer. So I'll pick you up if you leave anything off, Suzanne. So
alrighty. Okay, I'm Suzanne DiLorenzo. I'm the director of water quality at San Jose Water. And I'm a member of the Water Utility Council. But I've also been in Oregon, and I've been in Jersey. So I've been all over the place. And it's a little bit attributed to my involvement in AWWA and the Water Utility Council, but that's a story for another time. So the Water Utility Council oversees AWWA's government affairs program. We are not as boring as we look in the pictures online, I can assure you. But we do sit around tables with placards. We do that. We do that. But we're much more interesting. And so basically what we do is any sort of regulatory or legislative issue that is coming down the pipeline that could impact the water industry, we get to have a say in. So we're sort of like the organization's voice in a discussion, how we're going to move forward together collectively. And it's really neat. So we have about 25-ish members. And then we have some sitting members who represent other water organizations throughout the countries. So for example, AWWA and the National Association of Water Companies, I believe, is there as well. We have a Water Resource Foundation representative. So we have a lot of voices. We also do have one YP liaison, but then again, don't be fooled by appearances. So we have one, but we have plenty of people who would qualify as YPs on our committee. And it's neat because I'd say quite a few years ago, it would have been a lot of guys sitting around a table in suits. And now we're having more and more women, more diversity, and kind of a younger generation speaking out. So if you are looking for some place to, you know, have a voice, make a difference, set some policy, and give your regional perspective, because the country is very large. And one of the things you'll learn staying on the council is that while drinking water quality or just general drinking water problems might be, you know, collectively universal, There are very different issues throughout the country with the region. And so without having a perspective that is diverse nationally, or internationally, we have a few Canadians, to get your voice in there and get heard, we won't know. We don't know what we don't know. So really great group of folks and really important work. Anything to add, Mike?
Sure, that was an awesome description of what we do. We do a lot of work with the legislative issues, and one of our hallmark events we just finished here just last month was the AWWA National Fly-In, where Suzanne, representing California, and myself and a couple of the people from Oregon and others from across the country come to Washington, D.C. We meet with Tracy Meehan, Steve Villa, and Tommy Holmes, unfortunately for the last time, this time Tommy Holmes because he's retiring, but others on Capitol Hill, and we talk to legislators. We talk to each of us in our different states, talk to our own delegation. So in Oregon, that's 2 senators and now 6 House representatives. And we talk about 3 or 4 different really key things that are making a difference right now as far as challenges to us: cybersecurity, infrastructure financing, PFAS, things like that. And we get to actually spend some time talking to our elected officials on the Hill. That kind of gives you some goosebumps or ginger ale-like feelings across your skin sometimes when you're actually sitting in a congressional representative's office and meeting them face to face. But it is a lot of fun. And yes, we do have tents like this that we have to walk around
You
with.
kept yours?
It just happened to be in a folder I was looking at. So yeah, who else is going to take it? Nobody else wants it. It's my name. So yeah, I just happened to laugh when you said that. It's like, oh, I know that that's there. And it is fun, and it sounds kind of corny, but you have longstanding friends who are engaged in the same council that you are. Suzanne and I go back a number of years when she was a teenager in this business, and I was not as young as I would like to think I was. But we do have a lot of fun together. We tackle really tough strategic kinds of plans together. And Suzanne was really good about mentioning our YP liaison. I'm sure you all know who that is. She's a rock star in and of herself, Chelsea Boozer. And so if you want to learn more and you have a lot of time and you can catch her, which is always a trick, you can flag her down and talk to her about YPs being involved in that as well. So it's a fun committee council because you feel like you actually get a chance to make a change nationally in a policy sense and in the direction of water quality and water legislation. So there you go.
Right.
Yeah, I had
One
to
more
point
thing to add that I forgot to mention when I was talking really fast before is that in order to be on the council, you do need to be a utility member. We do have liaisons with the MAC, but all the folks who sit around the table are utility members. If you go on the website, you'll see, senior officials. You don't necessarily need to be senior official. I mean, I might feel like I run San Jose in spirit, but I'm definitely not running the entire show. But you at least need to be a utility member to apply.
And when they say senior, it means like old. So that's me. So there you go. And no, you don't have to be an EIT or an engineer or anything. So
Just a utility member.
just a utility member.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike and Suzanne. We'll keep moving. Let's see. You can go to DMIC, diversity and member inclusion. We have Chiho representing.
Hey, let me see. I can summarize that pretty quickly. And given the fact that I used to be the chair for the Technical Educational Council, and also I was on the Standard Council, I can also field some questions for folks that have questions for those, because I'm still very fond of the Technical Education Council, and that actually is one of the biggest council right now for the association. So for Diversity and Member Inclusion Committee, the purpose of this committee, and you can think about the mission of this committee, is that it's a committee that will want to lead AWWA in advancing a more diverse and inclusive organization that value individual differences, creating a collaborative and welcoming culture throughout the AWWA community. That's really the main goal of this particular committee. Right now, there are 15 members. They are all basically voted in, apart from 2 that have actually come out from the board. This committee actually report directly to the board through the executive committee. So if you go back and look at the org chart, you will see is that this is one of the standing committee, very similar to the YP committee. Currently, the chair is Uma Van Petti out of Minnesota. And but if you look at the membership of this particular committee, it is very diverse. The majority is actually women, a lot of people of colors, and also we do have representation from LGBTQ community. We do have a strategic plan. There's 3 major goals for this particular committee. It's to be AWWA's champion for diversity, equity, inclusion education. Goal number 2 is to support section diversity, equity, inclusion program. Just the fact that we try to promote that within the association. We also want to make sure that that flow down to the section to the section level, because we are made up of different sections, 43 of them all together, and so I think that it's going to be very important to see activity at the section level. And then the 3rd goal, which is the last one, is to be a strategic diversity, equity, inclusion advisor for AWWA. We do have a lot of activity. Even though if you're not a member of the committee, you can definitely continue to participate. We form subcommittee that will invite folks to come in to help to again promote our goals and objectives. So we organize workshop and also present information at various different conferences, and we even have a special session that will be held at our board meeting. We also conduct survey to engage the progress in diversity and inclusion at AWWA, and also we develop various different tools. Right now we are working on some resources and also some metrics that can be used to assess the progress of DEI at the section level and also at the association level. Also, for this particular committee, we worked on policy statements. So if you ever see AWWA policy statement, which is basically is the stand of AWWA on certain issue, there are 2 policy statements that came out from this committee. One is diversity and inclusion, and the second one is non-discrimination and anti-harassment. So these are kind of the activity that's ongoing within this particular committee. And again, we welcome everyone to come in and be a part of it, even though for voting purposes, there's only the 15 members that are currently authorized to do so. Again, it's very similar to YP. So if you're familiar with the YP committee, this is kind of like almost a mirror image, just with different purposes. So let me just stop here because I think there's still a lot of folks that need to go. And but toward the end, if you want to know a little bit more about other council, I'll be happy to tell you, because, for example, 2 of the folks on this call are from the Technical Education Council, the Water Laws Control Committee, and then the Water Quality Laboratory Committee. So those are 2 folks can tell you more about TEC. But TEC probably right now is the biggest. We have about 2,000 volunteers. And actually, that means there's a lot of opportunity, especially if you want to give back. That will be a good place for you to actually start your volunteer career. Thank you.
Thank you, Chiho. Yes, I agree. TEC has a lot of committees, and I know some of those committees are actively looking for YPs. So I think in our part 2 of our speed networking will have someone from the TC, the chair position, or someone on the higher up. Not, I don't mean um, the subcommittees or committees that stand under TEC, but part of someone from who's part of TEC. And then, all right, we'll keep moving. Let's go to Water Loss Control Committee. Sophia.
All right, well, hello everyone. My name is Sophia Marcus. I'm a managing water utility engineer at the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power in Los Angeles, California. I actually started up our water loss task force program here at LADWP. And let me tell you, if you want a field where you learn about all utility operations, from water supply to distribution to metering to water rates to leakage, there's no better place to be than in the field of water loss to really learn all of that. So that's what I learned when I started getting into this field. And then I've been the chair of the Water Loss Control Committee for since 2021, and I was the vice chair for 2 years before that. This is a great committee. We've got over 100 members and volunteers from across North America, even some international partners. And we also have 7 subcommittees who meet more regularly to discuss several topics in depth, because there's just so much encompassing in the field of water loss control that we had to break it up into 7 kind of subtopics to get people more involved and more in depth on specific topics. So for example, we'll have committees who study specifically real losses or leakage, and areas like leak detection or pressure management. Even the energy cost of losing water through leakage is something that we're studying now. We have other committees that work on manuals. So our committee puts out the M36 manual, which I do have to brag about. I've heard this is the most popularly purchased AWWA manual. So it is a very comprehensive manual on all things water loss and non-revenue water management. In addition, the committee puts out the free water audit software that's been downloaded thousands of times and used by many different utilities and organizations to understand where they might be seeing non-revenue water or losses in their system. The committee is a great group of folks that really are very knowledgeable. I feel very fortunate that I had the chance to work with them. I know I saw Andrew on here. He's a longtime member of this committee. So thank you for all your contributions, Andrew. I think for this committee, if you're really into data and new technology and new research, this is a great place to be. This is really an emerging field. A lot of states and even other governments are looking at new standards and requirements and regulations in regards to water loss. And this is really something that a lot of utilities need help with. And so there's a lot of opportunity here to get involved, provide ideas. How do we, look at statistics of all this data? How do we evaluate new technologies that are out there? There's just so much that this committee is researching, and it's really a fantastic and interesting field. So I could probably go on for a long time about this. Hopefully I'm giving some insight as to like how many different areas there are in this committee to research, from meters to leakage to, we also do outreach on performance indicators and benchmarking, trying to get people to understand new indicators and moving away from the old ones that maybe don't make sense anymore, like percent non-revenue water, for example. So anyway, there's a lot of work to be done here, and we're definitely looking for young people with new ideas, with interest in technology and more experience that they can maybe bring to the table, or a willingness to learn and be a part of this committee and help us move forward. I guess the last thing I should probably say is that we're a part of the distribution and plant operations division which is under the Technical and Education Council, so you can kind of know where we fit in. We also do regularly meet in person at the ACE conference, so if you're going to be there, please, join us. We'll be meeting there, and then we have a couple of virtual meetings as well. So hope that you guys are interested and will get involved.
Thank you, Sophia. And then with that, we'll move on to Nikki from Water Quality Laboratory Committee.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Nikki Holloway, and I'm the representative from Water Quality Lab Committee today to speak to you. So our committee falls under TEC, or the Technical Education Council, and then we are under the, I got to read this, Water Quality and Technology Division. So we're a committee of, I think we have 57 members currently. So our membership has been exploding in the past 2 years, actually. We're comprised of a pretty wide variety of people, honestly. So I'm a lab supervisor for a drinking water treatment facility in Arkansas. But our group isn't just laboratory personnel even. So we have drinking water lab people, we have wastewater lab people, we have regulatory members, we have people that work for manufacturers of lab equipment, method development. It's just a very wide array of lab nerds, honestly, and water nerds. So if you're a little bit geeky, you're gonna love our committee. So we meet monthly. We have a meeting every single month where we do something that I really like called member sharing, where we get to learn about the members in our committee. They talk a little bit about themselves and what they do or challenges that they have at the moment. And then quarterly, we get a bigger speaker in. So obviously, one of the things we deal with are regulations coming down in water quality. PFAS is a really big deal right now. We've also talked about microplastics, COVID and wastewater monitoring. So we'll get people that are experts in from those various fields to speak to the whole group once a quarter. So that's been a really popular, fun thing. One of my favorite things about the group really is the amount of collaboration and sharing that we do, because when you work all the time and you're in your own little locked away in the laboratories, sometimes it's hard to see the big picture of things and kind of where you fit in the world of water. But from this committee and this group, we share things all the time, challenges we're facing, because guess what? We're not reinventing the wheel. We're all doing the same kinds of things. So it's just nice to get that other perspective from people. It was definitely a lifesaver during COVID when we had issues with supply chain and regulations and labs and outside labs not being able to keep up. And just to be able to share knowledge with each other and challenges that we're going through, and to get help from people in other states and other countries even. I think we have a couple members up in Canada right now. Our group is very diverse. So, I talked about the different kinds of professionals we have, but we have young professionals in the group. I'm a young professional for like a little bit longer until they kick me out. We have older professionals. I like to call them our seasoned professionals. We have men, women, people of various nationalities. So it's a really wonderful group. We do a lot of work. So I think in the past 2 years, we have published at least 18 times as a committee in AWWA, as well as the journal that AWWA puts out. So if you like to get published, if you want your work to get out there, it's a really good vehicle to be in. We also plan things at conferences. So at our Water Quality Technology Conference, which I'm going to give a plug for right here if you haven't been, it's a fantastic conference. We're putting on a workshop at the next one about flavor profile analysis and taste and odor. So, there's a lot of good work going on. We work on the M manuals. So we're updating the simplified for procedures for water analysis, which is something that we share with operators. So it's kind of the basic how-to of lab procedures, the shake and bake methods that are a little easier to follow for people. Yeah, so if you have any questions about our group, I'd be happy to answer. And obviously, we would love to have you join. The more, the merrier. So thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. All right, with that, those are the folks I have on my list. If there is someone else from other councils and committees that I may have missed, please, this is your chance to speak up. Okay. I'll open it up to questions. I know the chat has been quite interactive and going on. One of the questions, which is, I guess, a general question to everybody, is can you please share with us the skills and qualifications required to become a member of one of the AWWA committee?
Pooja, maybe I can get started and let other people add to it. Just the fact because I am old or seasoned, whatever, how people define it. And, because a lot of YP will ask me, because when I go visit sections, they will ask me like, what can I join? What can I do? I always tell them that there's a sixth council, but the two council that really kind of promote a lot about knowledge creations and exchange is the Standard Council and the Technical Educational Council. So those are the two that are very explicit on this. So, and there's also a lot of committees. TEC have about 60 plus committee. And Andrew talked about the number of committee, probably about 80 is in standards. So both of these councils definitely look for a lot of folks more on the technical side, but there's also managerial side because one of the series in the Standard Council is the G series, which is about utility management. So there's also not just pipe, pump, and chemical. So I think if people are interested in start really being a volunteer in some of these areas, go to the AWWA website, take a look at how to volunteer, study about all these different committees because they can align with their interest. You don't have to be an expert, just like Andrew saying, is that you don't have to be an expert. If you're interested in this topic, you can go in and learn about it. And so I think it's a good starting place. And then because the other council is a little bit more restricted, even with the diversity member inclusion committee, we have only a limited number of slots, same as the international council, same as the MAC, the PAC, and utility council. So those are places that maybe after you have gained some kind of knowledge and also networking in the beginning, and then you can start really identifying what might be a good place for you to be sort of later down the line. So that's kind of at least how, from my perspective, which of course can be completely wrong, just given the fact that I am very seasoned. So, but
you are a young professional.
Well, I'm young in heart, right? Because that's why I call you guys younger professionals.
Exactly.
Because I'm still young. Yeah. But really, I think those give you a lot of opportunity, especially it can align with what you might be interested in. And then again, then you start expanding and looking at other opportunity for you to make a difference in the water community.
Anyone want to add to that? I see a lot of head nodding. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I agree in that you don't have to be an expert in any field to join any of these committees. We have plenty of people in our water quality lab committee that are just lurkers. They're never going to say anything during the meetings. They're just there to watch and hang out and see what we're talking about. And that's awesome, right? We'll take everybody because you never know when we're going to start talking about something and then all of a sudden, you're the expert and you didn't even know you were. So please come on.
Yep. That's great, Nikki. That's a fantastic analogy. And I would say I would echo exactly what she just said. It's not what you know, it's what your passion is. And if you want to learn about something, if you want to mingle with people that have passion, like Nikki and Suzanne and Sophia and others and Andrew and such, I mean, that's the group that you want to join with. You'll learn an awful lot, and I think that's the fun part, and be able to contribute. It's a whole wide array. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant, so you can't just jump in and do all those things. But talk to those folks. You know, I think all of us, we can put all of our contacts in the chat box if you want to, Pooja. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so we can do that if you want to talk to us at length about any of these other ones after this call is over, because you know it's like walking into a giant buffet and trying to figure out what you want to eat. There's just so much there to do. But you see these folks here on these calls, and you know, Chiho and I have been around since water was brand new. So, you know, these other folks that have been here, they're super smart, and they've got a lot of passion, which is really endearing to us. So we know that water is going to be part of everybody's life, safe water for a long time after that. So it's good times.
Thank you. There are a couple more questions within this one question. And so where this is coming from, these questions are, DR is one of our international student chapter members or chair. I believe he's the chair. Yeah, I see Rebecca nodding her head. So he's been amazing with starting this initiative, just so everybody else on the call knows. Do you want to add something to that, Rebecca? I know it feels like you're.
Oh yeah, sure, happy to do that. And the Jordan student chapter is very new. It's from a couple months ago, but they have already have their 3 years business plan, basically. Very impressive. And so we are very happy to have the Jordan student chapter. And also this platform, I think, is very good for everyone attending here, listening to all the AWWA volunteer staff to talk about all their involvement opportunities. So like everyone say, passion, what are you interested about? Like myself, I'm not an engineer, and then I do not know much about water at the very beginning, joining AWWA. But there's a lot of opportunity for us to learn from each other. And also personally, my personal experience at IC International Council, I learned a lot from our young professionals, especially on a lot of nowadays, how to connect people more efficiently and more effectively. I learned a lot. So that is a very good opportunity for us to learn from each other. I always two ways. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just reach out to us and Mary if you have any specific question about each council or committee, please.
Yeah, and continuing on his questions, is can he be a member of, if they're interested in more than one committee, what should we do? I think all you have to do is go into the application and then you can pick, I think, 3 choices. So yeah, thank you, Mary. So go on to AWWA's website, go into that tab for volunteer, and then go into volunteer application. From You have like 3 choices to pick which committee you want to be a part of. Make sure you name those. You have to type that in, so you have to make sure it's like correctly typed in. And you need to be an active member of AWWA to apply to be on a committee. Generally, these applications are due March 1st of every year. However, sometimes some committees do accept beyond that, or on a rolling basis in the year as well. So definitely, if you're interested, do apply. And if you have questions, there's a volunteer FAQ. If that's not helpful, you can reach out to any one of us and we'll definitely be able to guide you. Yes, we will be sharing the list of committees and councils that sit under AWWA. So you should be getting that as a follow-up email by Mary. What are the qualifications to be an active member? I don't think there are any specific qualifications. If you're a student, you have to pay the student membership fees, which I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's like $25 or something. I could be completely wrong.
$20.
$20. Okay, Mary, thank you. So you just have to pay that and you're a member. It's a yearly membership, so if you want to continue on, don't forget to renew. Any other questions for our committee members here?
Yeah, and also, you know, once you join, if you feel like that committee that you don't belong to that committee, you can always remove yourself and then just check around. Like I said, there are, you know, in combinations with standard and TEC and other committee, you know, you probably have 100 to pick from. So, you know, just do a little bit of shopping around.
Yeah, you're not tied to the committee for the rest of your career or year even. You can jump around, or if you're not interested, that's something you learn about yourself too.
That's right.
Can Canadian students be? Yes, I think we have several members who are Canadians and international outside of North America as well. So yes, you can be part of volunteer committees.
Pooja, real quick, I'll mention the councils do have membership terms. So I don't know if I mentioned that, like the MAC is a 3-year term, and I think that's the same for the other councils. And usually you can serve 2 consecutive terms.
Right.
Yes, that is right. Well, that's for any leadership, or no, it's a members. Never mind, sorry. Yes, it's similar for white peas. Yes. Okay, any other questions? All right. I can ask one. What type of time commitment do you expect, or do you expect from a student or YP or member for your committee or councils?
Well, based on my experience, it varies quite a bit. I mean, if you're there to learn, then I think, you know, you can spend basically the time at right now probably a lot of virtual meeting or also in-person meeting. Let's say like the annual conference and exposition, we have meeting there. But if there are projects, so sometimes your committee might have a project or number of projects that you can then participate. So then you can gauge the availability of your own time to volunteer, and that's also how you can actually move within these committee. You know, I always use an example that I started as a member, and then I become a vice chair, and then become a chair, and continue to move up through the division and to the council, and then finally to the board. So really, you know, I don't think there's a specific time commitment, but we definitely will want the member to show up at this committee meeting, be active in participating in these meetings, and then if there are projects that come up that you have availability and you're interested in working on that topic, be a part of that project. So you know, that's really kind of, you know, what I will view as a time commitment for the members.
Yeah, and I'll just second that. So on the Standards Council, it's all of the above. When you're in the council, we have, of those 188, 190 standards, about a fifth of them come up every year. So you have to review those updates, and there's a fair amount of commitment there if you're going to do it properly. But then when you get into the committees, as Chiho was saying, you've got all of the above. You've got folks who are really writing new text and new content for those standards, but you're also having people who are reviewing it and also having people who are listening and learning at the same time. So it's all of the above from the standards side of things.
Yes, some of the project I can describe is, for example, updating. I think it was Mrs. Sophia was talking about the manual practice. When those are being updated, then we need author to be a part of that update. Policy statement, we need to review policy statement to make sure that it is up to date. And then, so all of those are a part of what the committee will be helping with.
So as a student, I still don't see more questions. I'm going to keep following up until someone pokes me to stop and shut up.
Looks like
But
Mary has her hand up.
yeah, that was just getting there. Thanks, Nikki. Mary, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because we're almost at the end and this was such wonderful information and everything. We do have another one of these coming up next week on the 26th, but I have a question to ask all of you is, can I get a picture of all of you guys on a screenshot just to show everyone how cool this group is, and maybe share it on social media and in an email when I let everyone know, like, hey, there's another one next week, you should join us. Can I do that? Is everyone on board?
Yeah,
And if you're
sure.
not
Wait,
on camera, if you're not on camera and you want to be,
Wait, I gotta comb my hair. Oh no, wait, I don't have to comb my hair.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Go on,
Mike, you don't have any
down.
hair, so stop it.
all right. So if you guys are on camera right now, I'm gonna take a snapshot of everyone. Does everyone want to put like a thumbs up or a wave? All right. Okay, I'm gonna count down. 3, 2, 1. All right, I got it, guys. I'm gonna put it here in the chat.
I see Ryan's hand is up, so I'm gonna quickly jump over to Ryan. Do you want to go ahead and ask your question? Or I guess that was for the picture.
Oh, Ryan is muted.
Yeah. Okay. We do have a couple of minutes. Are there any other questions, thoughts? Okay. So, oh, I was going to, okay. I did wanted to quickly ask that one question that I thought of. So as a student, so I hear that a lot of councils and committees are updating manuals right now. So as a student, not being a subject matter expert that we've been talking about, how can they contribute to these manual updates if they were interested?
So I guess I can.
I'm sorry.
So we're updating M12
Everybody
right
wants
now.
to jump on that.
And we have a few people updating and helping us update that aren't subject matter experts. And they actually have came up with really great content, because a lot of this update involves gathering sources, looking at standard methods, looking at manufacturer information. So being involved in the process of developing a manual of practice kind of makes you a subject matter expert. So if there's something you're really interested in learning about, that's a great way to learn about it.
Yeah, sometimes, with a fresh pair of eyes really help. So, some of us been working on a topic for the last 30 years, but when you have someone else that come in, maybe with different type of training, they can see it and say, well, there's a different way to present this information. So.
And Sophia has a 400-page manual. It
Yeah.
takes a village for a 400-page manual. So everybody's got some expertise they can add there. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to offer too that because our committee is so large, we have 7 subcommittees. You don't necessarily have to jump into the manual right away. We have other subcommittees you can jump into, whether it's outreach or regulatory, apparent losses, real losses. There's a lot of topics being discussed, so it could be a great way to start kind of with those areas and help them with research or just learn from those different subcommittees. And then when you kind of get your feet wet, you can join in on our 400-page manual subcommittee.
Awesome. All right, we are a little over, so I just want to thank everybody for attending and showing interest in our committee speed networking event. Thank you to our panelists and members here for taking the time and speaking to our students. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, to Mary, or to any of our members here, and they'll be more than happy to to answer them. We do have our part 2 next week, so keep an eye out for it. And I see all the hands that are being raised by people who are going to ACE, so that's awesome. And hopefully I can make it too. So with that, thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
Take
everyone.
care.
Bye.
It's good to
See
see
everyone
everybody.
later. Bye.